The County Board of Supervisors Chairman Thomas Galvin is here. First of all, I really appreciate you coming down here for these updates.
Of course. Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you. And it's great to see you brought your son with you today.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Out of school for the week.
Yeah, lucky guy.
Yeah, lucky guy. And so I want to jump into a few serious issues. Let's start with a couple of things at the recorder's office.
Yep.
One of them, there's been an ongoing battle, which I think most voters in Maricopa County need to understand, that it's not quibbling, that this is issues in the recorder's office where he believes that a deal that was made between his office and the Board of Supervisors by his predecessor doesn't matter to him. He wants his job back, or what he considers his job back. Well, can you explain what's going on?
Yes. So the state legislature, in their infinite wisdom, bifurcated election duties between the Board of Supervisors and the recorder, which means that we control elections, we being the Board of Supervisors, but the recorder has a couple but major responsibilities, which include setting out ballots for mail-in envelopes and also for processing those ballots when they get back. Not processing, but receiving those ballots when they come back. So we had to do what are called special agreements with Adrian Fontes and Stephen Richer. And we were going to do one again with Mr. Heap this year because there's a lot of gray area and there's a lot of ambiguity between the laws on who does what. So whatever Mr. Richer and the board had agreed on last year, it doesn't matter because when Mr. Heap came into office, he terminated the agreement. So what we did, we're willing to do it, and we talked about it with you at the time in January and February and through the spring, was to negotiate with Mr. Heap on a new agreement saying, you do this, we do that, because the ultimate job for us is to make sure we're doing right by the voters. We had a handshake agreement with him in April. He disappeared for 5 weeks, didn't get back to us, and then he sued us. And so I have said repeatedly that lawsuits between elected officials doesn't serve anyone well. I believe his lawsuit is frivolous. He just filed a TRO last month. He lost on that one as well.
And that's a temporary restraining order.
Temporary restraining order, but all these different things. But at the same time, we recognize that Mr. Heap, as a recorder, has certain election duties, but we do as well. And that's it.
So where does it stand now? Because listen, I know you well enough that you're not looking for a fight.
No.
But you also want things to be done the right way.
Right.
And you know what? For as much as I know about Mr. Heap, he seems to me at least to be reasonable. I've had a couple of conversations with him. So I was hoping that there would be a sit down, an agreement. Right. So where does it stand now?
If I put myself in Mr. Heap's shoes, the biggest issue for him is what we call IT, right? Just the computer, the software, all that stuff to handle the back end of all these election issues.
Right.
And he has said that he wants to have control over IT in terms of what he's responsible for. We're okay with that. We asked him how many positions he needed, and we actually offered him more positions than he was asking for. But then he filed a lawsuit, which really has put everything frozen. At the same time, we have to move forward. We just had a jurisdictional election in November where everyone voted by mail, but now we have elections coming up in 2026. We're in the 2026 cycle right now, Mike, as far as I'm concerned. We have to get ready for a March jurisdictional election. We have to get ready for the primary election this summer, and then ultimately the general election in November, which features a gubernatorial race and other statewide races.
So you brought up the early voting and you brought up the mail-in voting. More ballots this time around than ever before, I think ever before, were denied or were not accepted.
At a higher rate.
At a higher rate. 3%, really, was it 3?
It was somewhere between doubled and tripled the rate.
Right, triple, that's what it was. That was the number 3.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What do you make of that? Because the recorder said it proves and it will add to election a surety, or that people will be more confident in elections because there's better scrutiny going on, and he thinks it'll get back to normal in the next election. Where do you stand on what happened?
I'm just very concerned because he implemented a new system. No one believes that fraudulent votes should move forward. Okay, so let's just start with that. This is not me or anyone else saying, hey, if there's some forgery going on, that those ballots should move forward. What we want to do is make sure that everyone who votes, every valid voter, sees their vote count. And every year, every cycle, of course, there's going to be issues where people either forgot to put their signature on an envelope or just did a really bad, sloppy job of their envelope, and then we're not able to return phone calls because there is a curing period where they call them up and say, hey, is this you? What concerned me, and it's our duty to ask these questions when we canvass the election, is to go, why did the rejection rate go from doubling or tripling? And my concern is, Mike, is that next year we have partisan races. And I anticipate that if this is not answered, that we might possibly see an even higher rejection rate. And you're going to have really pissed off voters who, if they find out that they voted legally, but for some reason Justin Heap rejected their ballot, it's going to be a problem. And what we have seen so far in the numbers we got is that most of the ballots that were rejected last week were Republican ballots. Justin Heap is a Republican. He might have angry Republicans with him, not just Democrats and independents. At the same time, we understand if Justin Heap wants to reject bad signatures or fraudulent signatures, but that rate was so high, we have to take a further look at it.
Yeah, and he, the explanation, at least that I read, I haven't spoken to him, but the one that I read was that the only changes they made with the signature verification, the curing process remained the same. The big concern, obviously, as a voter is I don't want any ballot that isn't legitimate to get through, but it's kind of like our justice system. We don't want innocent people to be convicted of crimes.
Right.
So we don't want people that legitimately voted that made a mistake to not have their ballot counted. So where is that sweet spot? Because he's saying the problem is in the verification process, that when you have so many signatures to look at, people just tend to kind of go through the motions sometimes.
Well, he did change the way that the signature verification process is being done. He's defending it. He's very proud of it. I understand that if you're proud of that system. My concern is the numbers, the output at the end, right? If you see a doubling and tripling, you have to ask questions. You don't want valid voters being rejected. Also, next year, we're going to have very close races. The last races we saw statewide for governor, for attorney general, were very
tight. The attorney
tight.
general's race was
Attorney
incredible.
General came down to 280 votes. There were lawsuits about that regarding valid ballots that were rejected. So imagine, Mike, if we have to go through that rigmarole all over again, it's going to get national attention. So we have a lot of time to work with Mr. Heap. We understand what he's trying to do here. But at the same time, it's incumbent upon us as the Board of Supervisors, because we vote the canvass elections, to make sure that we're asking the right questions.
Is there a timeline in your mind, or is there a definite timeline of when this is going to be resolved? Because we are sprinting toward the next election.
Well, ultimately, he is the recorder. He is an elected official. This is his jurisdiction, right? So I cannot tell him what to do. But by all means, we have to work with the recorder's office when we come up with an election plan. So we're going to continue working with him.
All right, so what I'd like to do is I'm going to take a break, because a couple of other things I'd like to address with you is the county, the town of Whitman. We talked with Danny Seiden about this issue, which really I know the two of you know each other very well. And I think normally you work very well together, but there's a major disagreement on this issue, and it's going to have big implications in the West Valley. Let's touch on a couple of different things. Let's start with the Melendrez, with the oversight of the Sheriff's Department. Where do we stand on this?
Well, big news. We filed in court on Friday. We've hired an attorney now, which is what I promised when I became chairman in January, that we're going to fight back on this. So we filed against the judge because there is now this so-called financial audit, which has been looking how we're spending money to comply.
Right.
Frankly, we're accountable to voters. We're not accountable to an unelected federal monitor, and they went way over the line in terms of what is their jurisdiction. How we spend money to comply is not a federal jurisdictional matter. It's between us and the voters. This is an issue of federalism. This literally goes back to how our founding fathers created the Constitution, and I think we filed a really good statement made a good filing on Friday.
What's the timeline on that being heard?
Hopefully within a few weeks, but It's all entirely up to the judge.
All right. The other is the railroad. BNSF is planning a big what you'd call a rail yard in Whitman. And Whitman, the town of Whitman, is not real happy about it. They think it's going to change the entire dynamic of where they moved out there for, which I can understand neighbors not liking it. Doesn't mean they can really do anything about it, but I understand their concerns. We had Danny Seiden and I know that you know Mr. Seiden very well, from the Chamber of Commerce, and he was saying that this is something that the county needs to take care of, that it's whether it's the impact studies and the other things are your responsibility. And the pushback I've heard, correct me if I'm wrong, is that originally when they came to the county, Whitman was going to be annexed by, was it Avondale? Surprise. They have the infrastructure capabilities of police, fire, and the other things necessary. And in this unincorporated area, Maricopa County, the county's not prepared nor equipped to do that.
That's basically it.
That's it? So that's it. Let's move on.
Let's move on. So the county doesn't have a fire department, right? And there's a lot of roads and a lot of other infrastructure that needs to be built and constructed if you're going to approve a massive project like this. And I appreciate the Chamber of Commerce coming in and supporting a project like this, because obviously this means millions, if not billions, in economic development and thousands of jobs. But at the Board of Supervisors, just like any other city where there's a mayor and council, we have to call balls and strikes. And we have to assess and balance the merits of the case. And as you know, in the private sector, I've been working for years on land use issues. So I think I know this issue better than most people. And also, as an elected official, I have to listen to all of our constituents. At the same time, We're not a rubber stamp. So if a company, any company comes in and makes an application and they want to do substantial changes to where people live and to the way of life and also to the impact from an infrastructure standpoint, we have to put them through the paces and they have to answer the questions. And that day where we voted no on BNSF, I held up a document to show that I have voted yes on 30 other major economic development projects. This year I created the Economic Development Office at Maricopa County. So my economic development bona fides are unquestioned. At the same time, BNSF fell short and they're not able to establish and really cross the threshold of where you get to a yes vote. But it doesn't mean it's over. We're willing to listen to BNSF. We love to see BNSF go back to the drawing table, talk to different folks. But yes, BNSF's original plan was to go into the city of Surprise.
Do you believe that there is a pathway where the residents of Whitman will ever come to the conclusion that this is a good project for them and that they can find something they can get on board with?
I will say at this point, I don't know, but it doesn't mean I'm closing the door, which means I'm open to dialogue, open to negotiation. As you know, I dealt with the Rio Verde water situation, which people told me when I came in that was hopeless, and I was able to get that resolved. At the same time, I have a great colleague in Debbie Lesko. She knows every inch of that district out in the West Valley. She knows a lot of folks. She put in a lot of time and a lot of work. And I know she was on your show last month, and she really exhibited strong knowledge on this issue. Same thing for Debbie Lesko. She's willing to listen to anyone as well.
So in this conversation, I will say, and I know I said it before about being reasonable. I understand you are a very reasonable person looking for resolution. I feel the same way about Debbie Lesko, and I feel the same way about Danny Seiden and the people that are involved. So if the three people right now that are involved in this, or at least the names that are involved in this conversation, do you see a pathway where the three of you can agree on something going forward?
I'm saying it could happen.
Okay.
I'm not saying it will happen, but I'm saying it could very well could happen. But it's going to take good faith negotiating on all sides.
All right. So I think the most important issue that we need to discuss is Notre Dame, Miami. Let's get this out in the open right now.
Do you notice this green tie right here?
Listen, I not only noticed this, but I noticed that you brought your amazingly handsome son wearing a Notre Dame sweatshirt.
Just got to throw it a little bit out there.
That's all right.
Make the Miami Hurricanes feel the heat.
I've told you how serious this rivalry was when I was growing up.
That's right.
I coached football at a Catholic high school, much like a brophy.
Yep.
And the priests used to show up at practice the week of the Miami Notre Dame game wearing sweatshirts that said you can't spell scum without UM, with the Miami U in the word scum. So there's nothing you're bringing to the table I haven't already dealt with.
Well, I'm going to say we deserve our number 9 ranking, and I wish the Hurricanes
and we
the
deserve
best
to
of
be
luck.
number 8. I guess head-to-head doesn't matter.
Well, it was week 1, Mike.
Week 1, that means you had the entire offseason to prepare for us.
Plus, I think it was Hurricane Andrew or something going on in the stadium that day.
My
we had a fresh, I got all the facts. We had a freshman quarterback who just wasn't ready that day.
I've never known you as an excuse maker. I've never known you as someone that makes excuses.
I'm just laying out the facts.
Facts! You had an entire offseason to prepare for Miami.
And I think the College Football Ranking Committee is just composed of really smart geniuses who have really scrutinized all of the statistics and all of the numbers and all of the analytics.
Well, I understand it was week 1 for Notre Dame, but it also was for Miami.
Yeah. Well, you guys were home. You had a quarterback. You had a quarterback who I think is a senior.
We were at home. It was raining. We got caught in traffic.
Can I ask you one question? Has Miami won a game outside of the state of Florida?
No, they have not. Listen, but I'm not the one. I'm not whining about the fact we're on the outside looking in. We lost to 2 teams we shouldn't have lost to. You lost to at least one you should have, us.
Yeah, I think you guys deserve it ahead of other schools, but maybe not Notre Dame.
Maybe not Notre Dame.
And I'd love to see if we played against each other in the playoffs.
I would love that. Wouldn't that be great?
That would be great.
A rematch would be the bet we would make would be so much fun.
Yeah. If Miami goes further than Notre Dame, I'll come back wearing a Miami Hurricanes sweatshirt. How about that?
Oh, I've got one you can wear.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then I'll have something for you then maybe.
Okay. And I've done it. I've had to wear in our down years, which we've had so many of them. You have no idea how many times I've had to wear Notre Dame jerseys on the show.
Yeah.
It itches.
But this is what makes college football fun, right?
It does.
It's the best.
Before I let you go, I want to say thank you publicly. We both have a friend in common, and that's the superintendent in Maricopa County, Shelley Boggs.
Yes.
She oversees a school called the Hope Academy, and these are at-risk kids. These are kids kind of their last chance. It's an alternative school. And originally we were told there were 10 families that were in danger of not having a Thanksgiving meal. It turns out it was 13. But I reached out to you. I reached out to Clint Hickman, the Hickman family, and I reached out to Danny Seiden from the Chamber of Commerce. And you all generously ponied up some money. Yep. And yesterday we went shopping and we bought meals, full Thanksgiving meals, and we were able to provide a $25 gift card to every one of those families to get the incidentals, and they picked up the food this morning.
That's wonderful. You know, this is the week of Thanksgiving, right? Where we're literally giving thanks to God for our blessings. And every single day, you can look out the window and say, there for the grace of God go I.
Right.
And just think we have to be there for other people who need it.
But I want people to understand that when I contacted all of you, and you were the first one I contacted, before I finished the statement, you said I'm in. And I just want people to understand that outside of politics, doesn't matter what people agree or disagree with, you're a good guy, and that was very kind of you to immediately say yes and jump on board. And I just love the fact that the four of us were able to do something together. And I don't promote a lot of it, but I wanted to say thank you to you publicly, because it just, you don't get thanked often enough.
Well, you're a really good man, infused with character, and I just want to thank Superintendent Shelley Boggs for doing this and to raising awareness about these families. And there's so many families that need help. And my prayers for any of the people this week that go without it. But if we can help as many people as possible, that's our duty as citizens, right? As people here, as humans, and to treat our brothers as God taught us, and to be kind to one another.
Yeah, and I love this time of year because it seems like all of us are a little bit more mindful of our blessings than we are of the things, our problems. Doesn't mean our problems go away, but we are thankful, and I think we count our blessings, and it's the way we do that is to giving to others. And I appreciate you guys setting that example.
Thank you, and I always know you spread that message during the holidays.
I try, man. I try.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch and listen to the new season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.